James Delacey here from Sweet Times of Fighting, taking you through another strength conditioning breakdown. Today, Teofimo Lopez. It's a longer video, but there's some stuff I know I can skip through because there's not too much going on in some parts. So, again, nothing against fighters, coaches, anything like that, just my personal opinions, preferences, experiences, etc. And just trying to explain maybe why they're doing certain things and maybe if there's a better option. Looks like he's just chopping wood there. Alright. So we got, okay, with a band there too. So we got heavy trap bar jumps with the band around the hips. So I'm assuming the goal with this exercise is to try overload the hip extension portion in the jump. Only problem is you're taking away from everything else. So yeah, I think the band around there is actually I'm going to say a stupid idea. If the goal here is to maximize essentially ballistic performance, so being able to jump as hard and as fast as possible, adding the band around there is just going to completely throw that off. If you wanted to really emphasize hip extension, you'd be better off doing a kettlebell swing or band kettlebell swing. You can do the same thing with the band there, just emphasize the hip extension. You don't need to try and combine two exercises together to do that. And the trap bar jump's great exercise, and it's definitely something you can do over a barbell jump squat, especially if you don't want like heavy loads on your back for whatever reason, but you're still able to maximize jumping performance. And you can do it relatively heavy, spares the lower back and everything there with it. So definitely something worth doing. I just wouldn't add the band to it because it doesn't really serve any purpose in this instance. Just general push-ups. That must be for an ad or something. Alright, what do they call these? Dragon flags? Damn, you're going to have strong damn abs to do that. It's pretty impressive. But that's a really good ab exercise. If you can't do the full dragon flag like this, you can actually do like a normal lying leg raise, prop your hips up, then just do the eccentric portion with the straight legs. And then kind of do a lying leg raise up and then bring your hips up and then just do the eccentric portion. So that's definitely something you can do. I mean, hitting his abs doesn't really serve any real purpose, but other than that, you can do that exercise. You can regress a bit. Again, a lot more ab stuff. I mean, this is just typical with any kind of boxer. And there's nothing really wrong with it. And it's such low level stuff, it doesn't really matter. So if you do it as you please. So it looks like we got some deadlifts here. But his deadlift setup is pretty whack in this thing. So his deadlift setup is more squatty. It's more, I could say more trap bar deadlift like. So you see this position here. Like, he needs to have his hips up high at the start of his deadlift because his knees are in the way when he's lifting. His arms are in front of him. So it means when he lifts, that bar is really far in front of his hips. And that's what you don't want for injury. I mean, he's pretty much squatting it up. I don't know how he's doing that, but regardless, his hips need to typically be high if he's doing deadlifts there. Just alright. We got some one arm machine rows. Nice exercise, that one. Solid one for the lats. We got burpee medicine ball slams with a jump in them. I don't think there's any real value in this exercise for any reason, even for conditioning. It's just too general. It's just kind of doing work for work. There are other things you can do there. What else we got? More abs. More abs. Decline sit-ups with the bar. It's going to be more abs. Oh, muscle-ups. Solid muscle-ups. What else we got going on? More hitting of the abs. More abs. Again, such low-level stuff. Like, just whatever. You know, if the fighter feels good doing this kind of work for whatever reason, that's cool. It's not going to really hinder recovery that much. Reverse curls and finger push-ups. That's nice. So reverse curls are probably the least popular curl variation. I think it's important that you do some of those as a combat athlete because you spend so much of your time with your hands closed gripping and so much, I guess, wrist flexor being used from gripping and closing the hand. Doing reverse curls can kind of target the top of the forearm. It's just generally good for hand, wrist, and elbow health. So that's something you can definitely bring into your routine. Truck pull. Looks like it's just for an event. So won't comment on that. It's a cool exercise though, that one. More abs. Damn, he does a shit ton of... Oh, I mean, these are all clips, so... It's hard to say that all he does is abs. So it looks like we have some bike sprints. More abs. Swimming. More muscle ups. Let's see if there's anything else going on in this video. Because a lot of the stuff is just... there's not too much to really comment on a lot of this stuff. It's just kind of real general, like, ab training and things. More reverse curls. I like it. Upright rows. Yep. And so if you're going to do shrugs, you don't need to roll your shoulders. The traps don't do anything with rolling the shoulders. You just go up and down. What else have we got? I'm assuming this is going to be like more abs. Okay. I should have called it. More abs. Okay, here we go. Something. Bench with the... This is... I think it's a combat sports thing. I don't see it in many other sports. In fact, I don't even think it's really present in any other sports. The idea of just combining exercises to target everything at once. I mean, you can, if you watch my video breaking down Jeff Chan's video on punching power, exactly the same problem. Just combining a bunch of exercises, thinking you're targeting like the whole body. If you're going to bench, do the bench. If you're going to target abs, target the abs with whatever it is. You don't need to try and combine everything and do bench with abs at the same time. It just doesn't make any sense. There's no purpose. You're just limiting yourself in both exercises. So you're just getting subpar training, doing both at the same time. Dips. Yep. Again, some bodyweight stuff. Dips with chains, it looks like. Nice. Again, there's no real benefit to doing chains over a dip out or anything like that. It's just typically easier to load, looks more hardcore, etc. So chain loading, some more abs. Oh, there's our tennis balls again. Combat sports favorite, catching and moving side to side with tennis balls. I mean, for just a very general warm-up, something a little different outside of boxing, etc. Sure. For it to actually develop anything useful for boxing, no. And I've touched on that many times in the previous videos. You can check those out where I dive into what reaction and agility really is, and it has nothing to do with any of this. But it's just good for general movement. It's actually a really good exercise. Oh, we got sprints going on. Okay, let's have a look here. So it looks like almost like a high knee. Is it a high knee run, or is he actually going to a sprint? Let me just have a look at that again. So it's like a assisted acceleration. Okay, so maximal sprinting there again with the resistance a little bit. It's not something that I typically recommend fighters to do, just because injury risk is so high, especially with people that don't typically run. He looks like he's done a little bit of track or playing football back in the day. I mean, it's not the greatest form, but it looks better than a lot of other people. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Obviously, with the resistance, you're going to have to propel further forward, so you have to have a stronger push horizontally. It's a good exercise typically for people who are in running-based sports. For boxers, yep, I mean, you can use it, but there are also other things you can do that don't involve running. So that's kind of your call on that. Again, this is one of those agility reactive things that, again, doesn't transfer in any way, shape, or form to the sport. And what I mean by that is, so he's doing his boxing sport-specific movement, footwork, in his boxing stance, and he's reacting to someone pointing to a direction or a cone that he has to go to. And the problem is, agility is specific to the sport stimulus. So you can have someone who's very good at seeing and slipping punches, but they'll be dog shit at hitting a baseball or whatever it is, reacting in basketball, because the component of agility is sport specific. And that means getting better or faster at this does not transfer to the sport. And there's plenty of research I've cited in previous podcast episodes and videos around the idea that elite and sub-elite athletes have very similar performance in drills just like this in terms of reaction time and speed. But then when you add a sport-specific stimulus, the elite athletes far outperform the sub-elite athletes, which means that that quality is likely important to success in that sport. And that is why something like this likely doesn't do anything to transfer. But again, you could potentially use this for a warm-up, but again, in my opinion, you're wasting time if you're using this in a warm-up. You could be doing very light, I guess you say sparring games if you're going to do something like this, where you're actually reacting to someone in front of you in your sport. And then we have the old agility ladder. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. People probably come at me in the comments for this. Agility ladder is fucking useless. Everything on this is useless. This drill does nothing for you. Does nothing for your footwork. It does nothing. It just literally does nothing. Sure, again, you can use it for your warm-up. Again, I still think it's a waste of time. Anyone can come into the comments and try cite some evidence why it is anything useful at all. It's just not. And it's exactly the same reasons as the previous clip that I was showing with the reacting different ways. Exactly the same. This is just pre-planned footwork drill that does nothing. Pre-planned footwork does nothing in general. Pre-planned footwork through ladders does nothing in general. There's no such thing as fast feet because it's not about moving your feet fast. It's about moving in relation to what's happening in the situation in front of you when you're boxing, and ladders don't do any of that for you. I'm sure all of you growing up who played a field sport or any sport, and you had people go through ladders, and it was, the fastest guy in the team wasn't always the best person at going through ladders. You just kind of learned how to do a ladder drill. That really did nothing for you. It's about being able to produce force and be able to project yourself in a certain direction, whereas the ladder is just tippy-tappy. Your center of mass never moves. It's just your feet moving under you. You want your center of mass to move as you move your feet. So bear that in mind. I'm sure I'll get some hate in the comments, as I usually do. Parachute sprints, so max velocity sprinting with the parachute. So parachute's just another way to do a resisted sprint if you haven't seen them before. It typically overloads the maximum velocity phase of sprinting. So if you're not familiar, you have an acceleration phase, typically up to 30, 40 meters, and then you kind of go into like a maximum velocity phase where you're essentially holding max speed, and that kind of starts to decline. And parachutes overload that phase. Typically, that's what you're using it for during upright sprinting. So just a form of resisted sprinting. I think typically within combat sports, you're probably better off doing a sled or the band like previously, or similar resisted shorter sprints, just from an injury perspective. Because when you're running longer distances like this, you can get yourself into trouble, or sprinting longer distances, I should say. Right, I think it's just, that's not training, it's just having some fun, I think. He must have had a football background, you can tell by the way he was moving before. Right, I think that's everything in the in the training video. So if there's any other videos you want me to break down, let me know down in the comments. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people disagreeing with what I'm saying here, which is cool. Throw them in the comments too. It all helps the algorithm. But I'll see you in the next video.